Hey, welcome to the Push-Pull Sales and Marketing Podcast. I'm Marcello.
And I'm Sherry, and each episode will provide you with sales and marketing strategies that you can implement immediately into your own business. Today, we're going to be talking about
How to train your outside salespeople and get the most out of them. So in prior podcasts, we talked about inside salespeople versus outside salespeople, you know, how you got to treat them pretty much in terms of ability and stuff like that. The same. One of the best ways, and actually I just spent today all day doing it, getting one of my, I think he's been here 2 weeks actually, getting him set up, is to just take him on the road. So if you have new salespeople, that's a very important step. You have to have them with senior reps, or you have to take them out yourself and show them the ropes. None of this, all right, sink or swim, see how it goes, stuff like that. It's way too costly. Even people who are seasoned reps, it might be a different product, might be a different kind of selling cycle. So, for example, we hired a new rep, tremendous attitude, sales acumen, switching from a retail environment, very good at retail, very successful, top ranked, but in the same token, no business to business experience. Right. So you can't just assume, well, you know, hey, this guy has 7-8 years of direct sales experience. Let's go ahead and let's give him the ball and let him run with it. And if he doesn't, we're going to let him go. That doesn't make sense.
The other thing, too, I mean, I think people do generally learn better if they're seeing it in action, if they're getting a chance to do it themselves, and just the repetition of it alone. It's hard to explain things in theory, and it's a lot better if you can go out there and see how someone is handling themselves, see how they're talking, and see that, you know, with your own eyes, instead of being like, so this is what I do in this situation, and seeing how you think on your feet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to Wrestling Mindset. They actually did a breakdown of how people learn best, and teaching someone helps retention longer than anything else. Reading about it, seeing it, demonstrating and actually doing it, obviously, but teaching someone increases retention the best. So it's going to help you as a sales manager really reinforce what you're looking to do. It's going to help your veterans also perform better. They're going to reinforce their own stuff that actually needs to be done. Really selling is no different than well, it's a couple different things, but it's a process, you know, a logical process, step by step, but it's also a skill that has to be learned. I mean, people can know the basic rules of basketball. I know how basketball works. I know how to dribble a ball and the basic premise of shooting a basket the right way. However, the muscle memory it's just not there. I'm not good at basketball.
How many hours are you supposed to work on something till it becomes till you're an expert?
10,000, and that's according to I believe Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Unfortunately, in another study done by the fine folks at Wrestling Mindset, people that are born in January and February are typically better athletes because they get extra time to train, and they're actually moved up the ranks sooner. People that are born later in the year actually have less time, so they're falling behind the ranks. So I was born in November, so I have to spend more time than other people to kind of catch up, and you know those extra couple months. It makes a difference.
I don't know if that applies outside of athletics, though, does it? Were they generalizing it into other areas, or were they saying because the kids are bigger, faster, stronger from a younger age?
It was about how much time they can do and have that condensed. So, for example, the Beatles, they said the Beatles got really good because they did all these crappy shows. They did like 3, 4, 5 gigs a night, whatever it was. It was something crazy like that. So they got their 10,000 hours faster. So someone that's a little older they're kind of getting a head start to that.
I think that's a good point too, as far as it doesn't have to be perfect before you start practicing it. Like, get out there, start doing it, start practicing, get some of those hours in, because otherwise you're giving me a weird look.
You're really pretty.
You're not getting those hours in. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect, because it's not going to be perfect for the first X amount of hours. So work hard at, get your feet wet, give it a try, and go from there.
Yeah, that's very good. I'm glad you brought that up.
I mean, Marcel's a very talented salesperson, but, you know, I don't know if he'd admit this, but I'm sure his first couple sales calls were not nearly as good as what he can go do now.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And that was one thing I was willing to do, and being an athlete made me extremely coachable. After every appointment, you know, I'd call up my manager. I didn't sell my friend, and you know, I wasn't discouraged. I wasn't worried about what other people doing. Other people who are in the same training class. I mean, this is a company that I started working for. Their turnover rate is probably in the high 90s. It was a pretty high percentage.
Yeah. And a lot of companies actually subscribe to that, it seems like, which is kind of surprising. I mean, just we'll hire anybody, and if they do well, great, that's surprising. If they don't do well, we'll hire the next batch.
Yeah, and
it doesn't make any sense.
For some people, if you already have their book of business and you take that and you run with it, then it does for some people. It's not the best for your customers, because your customers are dealing with, who's this rep again? Oh, what? Another guy? Stuff like that. That's why I'm very particular about who I hire and the process and all that good stuff.
Especially if you're taking them on the road with you and going to see customers. You don't want to be introducing them to a new person every week or two.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. And again, in terms of inside and outside sales, it can help some of the inside salespeople too. And I hate to say this, and he's a gentleman that's no longer with the company. Very good voice, you know, could come across as very professional, but face to face, it totally fell apart. So sometimes you have to be careful on who you take out. This doesn't necessarily apply across the board. I'm talking specifically about outside salespeople. But some things you can do to kind of train them and obviously show them the ropes. Take them to see existing accounts, take them to see new accounts, and give him a variety of actual real-life situations. So today we saw a couple different accounts. We saw one account basically looking to kind of cross-sell some new opportunities, and this is what we'll also do on another podcast, talking about selling to different departments, cross-selling to different people, and what we like to call my company growing grassroots. So that way, if someone leaves, which actually what happened here, someone got promoted that was helping with the shipping and decisions, moved on to somewhere else. I had a relationship with the 3 or 4 other people that were around him. Someone
got promoted at the company that you were selling to, not your own company.
Correct. They got promoted to the company that I was selling to. So now they're looking at a couple different options, and those 3 people actually open up other opportunities that the other person, didn't. But if I didn't have that relationship,
you would have been starting from scratch again.
Yeah, exactly. But a couple different scenarios. So you got to prep them. So you show them what you need to do right. So before you even went out on the road, I said, okay, hey, we're going to visit these accounts, okay? And I want you to look up the account. Now, here's what I look for, okay? So just basic things in the actual analytics. So show him. So you go with him, show him how you do it, and then have him do it too. So I show him, hey, this is an account. This is what I'm looking for. Let's compare last year to this year. Okay, last year this time they did, $20,000 with us. This year, this same time around, they're doing $35,000 with them. However, I'm looking at the notes. I see we're not selling this product. We're going to talk to them about that product. Or the opposite situation. Last year we did $35,000. This year we did $15,000. We need to be professional and find out why. And in these situations, sadly, these were accounts that were that have been orphaned. And we talk about that, not find the right people and investing. And even if you do all the right things, some people are not going to work out. That doesn't mean don't spend the time and do that. So again, just basic things you can do beforehand. And we talk about this in terms of, if you don't want to get put in double arm bar, if you don't, how do you get out of double arm bar? Don't get put into it. Be prepared for what's going to come up in that meeting. So look at the account notes and stuff like that. Nothing drives me crazier when I can tell someone's calling me and this is a telemarketing thing, and you can tell like my name just popped on the screen. Hi, Mr. Marcello. I see you bought this. It's terrible. So to have the actual account data available. Some basic things, and this is a little bit higher level. Go ahead.
I wondered, when you're first starting out with a new sales rep and they go on the road with you for the first couple times, are they doing a lot of interacting as well? Like, do you prep them a lot beforehand and you want them to get involved, or is it a lot of just watching initially?
It kind of depends on their comfort level. It's mostly watching in the beginning, and we'll make the introduction and not be bashful about it. And some of today's appointments today actually were to make the introduction.
You mean like saying he's new?
Saying he's new.
Like
he's
not being bashful about.
Correct.
What's going on.
This is a new gentleman. This is why he's with me. I didn't bring backup because I think you're a weirdo. So no, he's new. However, he's under my tutelage, and you like that word? Tutelage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that like moist or something like that? Some people are probably cringing now they say moist. What other words? It doesn't matter. But basically saying, look, this guy, he's very good attitude. He's learning everything. He's going to be managing your account under my supervision. So that's a good way to kind of transition that. He's very well versed. He's very good. He'll definitely be able to help you out. And it's giving him a positive endorsement. It's giving him a big boost because you can say, man, you're doing a good job, man. You're picking up, you're learning and stuff like that. But people like public recognition.
Yeah.
Even if it's one other person, and that's another way to kind of lift the wind in someone's sails. So again, we're starting off talking about today, which was a new rep. We'll also talk about some of the seasoned reps.
Right. What was I gonna say? Oh, I like the line of that he'll be managing your account under my supervision, because I could see companies and accounts panicking a little bit if they're thinking that you're going to take yourself out of the picture. And they're going to be stuck with a newbie.
Yeah, and then some of my accounts too. We were visiting. Everything was fine, and any sort of change. I said, well, I got really nervous when I found out this person wasn't going to be my rep, and this person was, and it wasn't anything necessarily negative or anything bad about what the other person was doing. What my company does, and what I suggest other companies do, unless they're a competitor of mine, of course. Would be to have a dedicated customer service rep, someone that knows the account and that is in that same thing. And basically all we did, that person that had that account had an imbalance. They had too many accounts with less activity, so we kind of transitioned and we wanted to keep a fair balance. It's not fair for one person to be routing 70 shipments a day and the other person to maybe be routing 30. But yeah, and they said, no, it worked out well, but to kind of get that out there. When you talk to existing accounts too, open communication, because that was one thing that commonly came up, and let him know up front. So okay, so are you not going to manage my account anymore? Is he going to manage the account? And I let him know up front, hey, this is my account. This is a larger account. This is something I've been managing for a while. However, in the future, I might have you actually management. I might have you manage it. So I will let you know when you're at that point. And then also with the person too, like, no, at this point I'm still going to be your contact for that. However, when the time is right and all that stuff, I'll probably do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's good too to kind of talk a little bit about the process and kind of have things spring up and see how, because he'll see how you think on your feet and stuff like that. So you might be in a situation where you think, wow, I have this customer in the bag, stuff like that, and that happened with one of the orphaned accounts. That's where activity dropped. I assumed that activity dropped because the account was slower, and then I find out that knowingly, hey, we're going to take a risk with this competitor, even though their reputation is very bad because of pricing. So it's good for him to hear, okay, hey, this is what happened.
Right. Here was the complaint, and here's how you handle it.
Yeah, exactly. And when. And I like the, know when to hold them, know when to fold, know when to walk away.
I know you do.
Yeah. You have to know when to push on certain accounts and stand up for yourself and stand up for your service and say, hey, look, I understand where you're coming from. Certainly we can do that and we can sacrifice there. However, if I were to do that, I have to answer to my customers. And I can walk in here and I don't hold my head low or with my tail between my legs. If there is a problem, that I know that I can fix it. The people that you're working with now, they have a reputation for it. And again, it's very delicate too, because you want to be like, hey, you're making a bad decision. In this situation, the customer was like, oh, I know their reputation, but it's a lot of money. And how to handle that when people are trying to squeeze you, say, hey, I have this price here. What do you do?
All right. I'm sure you have more info about how to coach your outside sales reps.
Sure.
But if you like what you're hearing so far, please subscribe and rate us on iTunes. You can also share us on all the usual social media. Helps new people find our podcast, and we are trying to make you all better salespeople. So share.
And sales managers.
Don't just keep it to yourself. And sales managers. You can also email us at pushpullsales@gmail.com or tweet us at pushpullsales. We're always open to feedback or suggestions for future topics or any questions that you might have about this episode or past episodes. And we also provide show notes on our website, which is pushpullsales.com.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. So we started off talking about basically experience with a new sales rep, doing the prep work before and letting them know about the accounts. All right, you're getting in the car with me. I let them know the day before, hey, this is what we're going to do. Let's spend some time, look at these accounts.
And you get an idea for how well they do that beginning research as well, probably. Eventually you can say, hey, we're going to go see this account. Here's the info, and let them prep on their own a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It's an important part of the sales process that they need to be learning.
Yeah. And one thing too, there's only so many hours a day, and here's a problem, and that's what I'm going to transition into about veteran sales reps. A lot of times, sales managers, basically the sales manager in a lot of organization was the best salesperson, and a lot of times it's a mistake, or sometimes it's even the opposite. It's like, wow, he's so old, he's not terrible. He's just a middle of the road person. He's been here forever. If this position's open, let's go ahead and throw that person in there. Mm-hmm. And they're managing things that are not related to the sales team. So they're doing data and numbers and stuff like that, or they're running their own book of business, or they're just in meetings and bogged down, and they're not really rolling up their sleeves. So you want to do this with new reps, obviously getting started. However, don't stop doing what worked. Go out with your existing sales reps. So again, to make the most of coaching outside salespeople, you got to get on the road with them too. And it's funny too. You sort of make assumptions, and even I've been guilty of this. I'd give a quiz to a new rep and stuff like that, and then quiz a veteran rep, only to find out that the veteran rep didn't know something that the veteran rep obviously should. It could be an industry term or something like that, and that's something that you don't find out unless you're going ahead and doing spot checks. You're not micromanaging. You're running leads with them, either helping them maybe close a deal, maybe build up some confidence for them. With a new rep, you might go out, do all the work, close the deal, and give him credit. But man, that is going to super duper motivate him. Says, here's I can do it, and here it is, and here's proof and stuff like that. And then you kind of hype up the person. It's kind of like I don't know, like when you let a little kid score on you.
And you can also, it's going to help with veterans, like if they're struggling with a certain account, and you can get the sales manager to go in and really hype up that particular rep to a client. I'm sure that can be helpful in some situations as well.
It helps the rep. It helps the customer too. The customer knows that you're going to be serious. So same thing. Just plan some time, spend some time out with veteran reps in a variety of scenarios. One, it's going to be a fly in the wall. You're going to see what they're going to do, and talk to them. And this is something we talked about in another podcast.
Would you recommend, if you're going to go be a fly on the wall, should you tell them what you're looking for up front? Is there any way that you can make them less nervous about you going along? Just doing it more consistently? Like
humor works a lot. Okay. So in the beginning, we talk about that. I heard you were crazy. Typically, we'll go ahead and say, hey, I heard you were tough, so she asked me to bring backup. So that's the only reason why I'm here today.
So that will help with your sales rep. I meant more like that your sales rep is worried about you're evaluating their every word.
That's something, and we cover that. That's a great book called Coaching Salespeople into Sales Champions. It's a great book. It talks about establishing upfront what's the best way to manage people and ask them upfront. So I mean, how can I help you best? How can I help you best achieve your goals? If you don't do something that I ask you to, how can I come across in a way that's not demeaning or something like that, or not micromanaging? Mm-hmm. And knowing how that person is coached is extremely helpful. So in this situation, one of my sales reps basically said, okay, well, I asked you to do this, this objective wasn't done. What do you want me to do? And kind of said, hey, if you can come across slightly coddling, an email reminder, something like that, or setting up a task in Outlook or Reminder will come a long way versus than me pointing out. And there's certain things you do. You say, hey, look, everything we do here is obviously is going to be between me and you. If you're gonna boast in public, you're gonna criticize in private. So let the person know too. Like, look, I'm here to help. Also helps too, and say, hey, when I started, this is what my manager did with me. It's normal. It's a natural process, versus just talking to the person, or just say, I'm watching you today, and that's say, look, I was in your situation. Every I think Brian Tracy says every master was once a disaster, or every professional was once an amateur. And Sherry mentioned in the beginning, I was a disaster. I don't think I sold for my first, and this is 100% commission, 9 appointments. However, after I sold one, I sold the very next one afterward, because that was confidence. Yeah. I did not run with another sales rep until later, and I thought that was a mistake. Likewise, they would normally send me to train new reps with me, and I don't know why. Maybe it was luck of the draw. A lot of times I would make a sale in a very, very hard environment where only 1 out of 3 normally sells. When someone was with me,
you're competitive. You wanted to prove to these new kids on the block that you knew what you were talking about.
I guess. I mean,
probably also helped give you credit that they knew that someone was training with you and that you were trustworthy.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a variety of factors, but also let your veteran reps train your new reps. Put them to work, and again, that's going to help reinforce that. So it's going to help you, because there's always opportunity for development. There's always mistakes that you can be making, but have your veteran reps go out with some of your newer reps. So making the most of outside salespeople. Here's some, and we talked about this, but maybe you didn't catch the other podcast, some unorthodox things to look for. So for example, when we go out, one thing we do is we're actually looking through the logbook. If there's no one around, I will look back at the other pages and see who else signed in. If I see a competitor or something like that, I'm going to make note, and teach them maybe after how to be hyper aware of your surroundings. And what that means is to look around. So if you see competitors' paraphernalia, if you see certain information that might help you, aside from you see a picture of a guy holding like a trophy fish. Haha, do you fish? Or if you see one of those golf trophies, do you golf? Stuff like that. I will pick up on little minute things and stuff like that. If I see, for example, we popped an account, everything was going well real quick. I said, hey, what'd you notice about the secretary? He goes, I don't know. Again, super duper formal. The decision maker was literally like she could look at him and she still paged him. Super duper formal, does that. Also, she smokes e-cigarettes. Do you see that on her desk? If you look at the sign-in sheet, not a lot of people are signing in. Seems like not a lot of people are really calling their business, and things are kind of slow. But again, very organized. You see how he is. You saw the cane. You saw this. You see he's married, stuff like that. You have to be able to pick up on those things. But if you don't tell your salespeople what to look for, they're not going to do it. And if you don't go out and do some of the things yourself, they're not going to have the confidence. So other sales reps in the past, I work in the transportation industry. I will walk right through the warehouse. I will sneak, and it could be a brand new account. So, okay, hey, we're going to knock on this door here. And initial salesperson, if they've never done it before, if they've been in a different environment, they might get real nervous about that.
Right.
So no, hey, it's fine. I've been doing this for years. No one's ever questioned me. No one say, hey, what are you doing and stuff like that. And you just kind of just go through. So show them some of the unorthodox things and what you can do as an outside salesperson. Talk about reading body language and kind of helping them learn and qualify people too. So say, hey, okay, who are we meeting with today? Okay, what's this person's title? Then you meet the person, and you talk to them a little bit, and you say, okay, hey, just so you know, this person is not the decision maker. Well, what do you mean? I'm like, they didn't have a business card yet, so they're fairly new with the company. Or, hey, this person, clearly is not making a $1 million decision. If you see how they carry themselves and how they had the information and stuff like that. But but I thought is like, well, here are the signs where it's not going to work out, and here's where we need to go. Right. The other thing with outside salespeople is to push them to stay accountable and make the most of their day. One of our veteran reps asked me, hey, what I'm into this area here. What accounts should I stop by and see? And while I appreciate that person asking me, that person should very well be able to go ahead and pull that information and kind of look and circle. I can give different leads that maybe weren't given before. But lo and behold, looking at that situation and providing the new leads, there were accounts that I told her to talk to that were already in the system that it was her job to call anyway, and they hadn't been called on. So you have to tell them, hey, you've been here 3 months ago. You should have planned your day and stuff like that. So walk them through, and they're kind of like children. You have to keep them in line, because if not, they'll wander a little bit. Salespeople kind of reward themselves and say, hey, I got this account. I want to go golfing and stuff like that. You have to keep them focused, and that's funny too, because that's why people with ADD typically do very good in selling. Is because it's that hyperactivity and stuff like that, and all over the place. And then when they do get something, they really hone in on it, and then they can kind of walk away and move on to something entirely different. But yeah, to make the most out of running appointments with your outside salespeople. New reps, run with them in the beginning. Don't let them sink or swim. Show them how it's done. Let them do something and get credit for it. So you don't want to diminish them. There's various reasons why you want to do that. They're going to see what you're doing. You're hyping them up in front of other customers, and you're making an easy transition for your customer. It makes you look good too, because they say, "Wow, yeah, you're right. He's training someone else. This guy knows what he's talking about." And it puts an unspoken pressure on the customer too to have a positive interaction. No one wants to. I don't think I've ever ran an appointment with someone else, and that could have been the owner of my company, and say, hey, that's a bad. It's a bad thing. Also, I would recommend paying for their lunch and kind of making a day of it, and say, hey, you're gonna get to go out to lunch with me and stuff like that. Your time is reward in and of itself. If they can spend time with you, even your veteran reps too, say, hey, you're doing a good job.
Especially as a sales rep who is going to be working at least partially on commission. I mean, the quicker they learn and the quicker they get the hang of things, the quicker they're going to be making real money.
Yeah. Again, that was some brief insights and reasons why and how to work with outside salespeople, and we can talk about more specifics, interactions, and stuff like that. We hear a lot, hey, we want to hear more examples, which we can certainly do. But again, while it was fresh in my mind, wanted to cover again how to get your new reps started up, some of your greener people, and then how to get your outside people accountable and to make the most out of them. So yeah, I think that about wraps things up for the week.
Thank you to bensound.com for our intro and outro music. And thanks to you guys for listening. You can tune in next time where we'll tackle another topic. And if you have any questions or feedback on today's episode, head to pushpullsales.com.
See ya.
Bye.